Imagine stepping outside and feeling like the world is off. The skies darken in strange pattern, temperatures swing wildly, and deserts flood with rivers of ice. You try to brush it off, but a nagging question keeps creeping into your mind. What if this isn't natural? What if the very forces shaping our world are no longer beyond human control? What if someone, somewhere, has found a way to manipulate our skies, our storms, the very air we breathe? Right now, as you're listening to this, we are living in a world that's pushing boundaries. And as strange weather events become almost routine, two distinct theories have emerged. On one side, we have climate control, a science-backed approach aiming to protect us from a growing threat of climate change. For years, researchers have been exploring ways to combat rising temperatures, droughts, and extreme storms. In their mind, manipulating the climate might just be a necessary step to save us from disaster. But there's another side to this story. A darker theory. A theory that suggests our weather is being tampered with, not to save us, but to control us. It's the idea of weather manipulation, a concept where powerful entities use climate as a tool not for preservation, but for influence. Could these weather patterns we're seeing, floods in deserts, hurricanes intensifying in hours, heat waves melting cooler regions, be a side effect of climate experiments gone wrong? Or is there something much deeper and far more deliberate happening in the skies above? In this video, we're going to delve deep into this, looking at both sides of the argument and leaving the decision up to you, which you can answer in the comments below. Don't forget, if you do enjoy this video, please leave a like, as it does help, as it tells me that I'm doing something right and my fragile nature needs the pat on the head. So without any further ado, let's go deep into climate control and weather weaponization versus natural climate change. When it comes to controlling the climate, scientists aren't just making rain. They're reimagining what's possible in the atmosphere. But what happens when we push these methods to the limits? Each carries the potential for serious, even disastrous consequences. Let's start with cloud seeding. By dispersing particles like silver iodide or salt into the clouds, cloud seeding aims to encourage rainfall where it's needed most. Countries like the United Arab Emirates have invested heavily in this technique. But while it brings rain to the desert, it could create drought in areas downwind, disrupting ecosystems that rely on natural rainfall cycles. Could a well-meaning attempt to bring rain to one area lead to a dry catastrophe in another? Then there's stratospheric aerosol injection. This technique, where particles like sulfur dioxide are injected into the stratosphere to reflect sunlight. Sounds promising. After all, volcanic eruptions have naturally cooled the Earth in this way. But volcanic cooling lasts only a few years, and some scientists warn that artificially recreating this effect could have catastrophic side effects. Too much sulfur in the atmosphere could damage the ozone layer, increasing our exposure to harmful UV rays. And there's another problem. If we start cooling the planet only for the technology to fail or be halted abruptly, scientists fear what's known as a termination shock, a sudden, catastrophic spike in temperatures that could send the climate spiraling into uncontrollable chaos. Then there's marine cloud brightening. This idea is to spray saltwater droplets onto ocean clouds, making them whiter and more reflective. On paper, this could cool the planet, but altering the ocean's natural cloud cover could easily disrupt global rainfall patterns. A change in rain over oceans could shift storms, floods and droughts unpredictably, potentially causing food shortages, extreme flooding or desertification in regions that rely on consistent rainfall. And finally, there's carbon capture and storage. Seems like a miracle solution, trapping CO2 underground to prevent it from warming the planet. But scaling this technology to levels large enough to make a difference is an enormous logistical challenge. Some worry that the energy and infrastructure required could cancel out the very benefits it provides, and underground storage sites may eventually leak, releasing CO2 into the atmosphere in a burst that could accelerate warming all at once. These potential disasters make one thing clear: each method carries a weight of uncertainty, a risk that tampering with the climate could open Pandora's box. Are these methods a lifeline, or the fuse to a ticking time bomb? But what if these climate control techniques aren't just tools for fighting global warming? What if they're part of something far more sinister? Something that's less about protection and more about power. The idea of manipulating weather isn't just sci-fi fantasy. It's a concept that has been tested and put into action. Some believe possibly still in use today. If these practices were tested during wartime, who's to say they've been abandoned? During the Vietnam War, the United States military conducted Project Popeye, a classified operation using cloud seeding to extend the monsoon seasons over enemy territories. By intensifying rainfall, they aimed to flood roads, disrupt supply lines and hinder troop movements. This operation demonstrated that weather could be weaponized, a chilling precedent. Then there's HAARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program in Alaska. And yes, that did take me 15 attempts to get right. Officially designed to study the ionosphere, HAARP has been the subject of numerous theories. Some claim it possesses capabilities far beyond public knowledge, surprise surprise, from altering weather patterns to triggering earthquakes. While scientists dismiss these accusations, stating that HAARP's facilities lack the power to influence weather meaningfully, the speculation persists. If such technology was possible decades ago, what advancements might exist today? Just imagine for a second, if a hurricane could be steered towards a specific region, causing chaos during a crucial election or military operation. Or if a drought could be induced to cripple a nation's agriculture, leading to economic turmoil and instability. The possibilities for using weather as a weapon are as vast as they are unsettling. This isn't purely speculative. The existence of the ENMOD Treaty, the Environmental Modification Convention, established in 1978, shows that the international community recognized the potential for environmental and weather warfare. This treaty prohibits the military or hostile use of environmental modification techniques having widespread, long-lasting or severe effects. But enforcement is challenging and transparency is limited. If weather warfare was significant enough to warrant a treaty over 4 decades ago, could it be happening today, hidden in plain sight? But what makes weather such an attractive weapon? Well, unlike conventional warfare, where damage is immediate and, let's face it, obvious, a weather-based attack appears to be natural disaster, striking without warning and seeming beyond human control. It's a covert weapon that causes widespread devastation without firing a single shot, and no country or no power can levy that accusation at the other because it exposes their own advancements in weather warfare. It's like a drug dealer having his stash stolen from him. He can hardly call the police. When a natural disaster hits, the effect goes far beyond physical destruction. A country's infrastructure, its roads, bridges and buildings are only the beginning. Floods, hurricanes, droughts and extreme heat waves can drain a nation's most vital resources. Consider this. Every major disaster demands an enormous response. Emergency services are stretched thin, local resources are quickly depleted, and governments have to relocate funds to rebuild and recover. The financial burden can be staggering, especially for smaller or developing nations where recovery may take years. But the impact doesn't just stop at finances. Disasters can also drain manpower. First responders, medical teams, and the military are pulled from other duties to handle crisis. Entire communities can be displaced, leading to a long-term strain on housing, employment, and food supplies. And as resources are diverted to rebuild, the nation's stability begins to weaken. For a country's enemies, weather as a weapon offers the ultimate advantage. It appears to be an act of nature, giving them the power to destabilise without facing direct blame. While conventional attacks invite retaliation, weather manipulation is an invisible hand, leaving nations to scramble and recover without a clear adversary. Imagine a drought so severe it cripples a country's agriculture, leading to food shortages and public unrest, or a hurricane that devastates a financial hub, halting trading and weakening the economy. The aftermath is a slow bleed, sapping the target's strength from within. Using weather as a weapon isn't just about causing damage, it's about creating a drain on resources, undermining morale, and sowing seeds of instability. It's warfare designed to leave a nation vulnerable, exhausted, and in chaos, all without ever revealing the hand behind it. Have we already seen the beginnings of such tactics? And if so, what does that mean for the future of warfare? But maybe, just maybe, all of this is tinfoil hat speculation, born from an understandable and deep-seated distrust in the world's leadership. Perhaps there's no secret plan, no hidden hand controlling our weather. Maybe what we're experiencing is exactly what scientists have been warning us about for decades. A changing climate, one that's shifting in ways we're only beginning to understand. Climate change is real, and the science behind it is overwhelming. Human activities, burning fossil fuels, deforestation, industrial agriculture, are pumping greenhouse gases into the atmosphere at unprecedented rates. This creates a heat-trapping effect, warming our planet and leading to unpredictable and extreme weather patterns. One of the main arguments we hear from climate skeptics is how can we really know what's happening when weather records only go back 150 years? It's true. that modern weather records began in the mid-1800s, but scientists don't solely rely on recent records to understand climate change. They've developed ways to study the Earth's climate going back thousands, even millions of years. By studying what's called paleoclimate data, scientists analyse clues left in ice cores, tree rings, and coral reefs. Each of these natural records hold information about Earth's climate in the distant past. In places like Antarctica and Greenland, scientists drill deep into the ice to retrieve cores that contain layers built up over hundreds of thousands of years. These layers hold tiny air bubbles which trap ancient atmospheres. By analysing these bubbles, scientists can determine the level of greenhouse gases like CO2 in the atmosphere over time, giving us a direct window into the Earth's climate stretching back 800,000 years. Closer to home, tree rings provide a year-by-year record of climate conditions. Wide rings indicate favourable growing conditions, often cooler, wetter years, while narrow rings reflect harsh conditions like droughts or extreme heat. And tree rings alone give us thousands of years of climate data. Lake and ocean sediment layers can reveal shifts in temperature, rainfall, and even ancient atmospheric conditions over millions of years. These records create a powerful picture of Earth's climate, showing us not only natural shifts, but also how today's warming trend is unlike anything in recorded history. So if we have the data reaching back hundreds of thousands of years, can we really ignore the overwhelming patterns it reveals? Another common argument is that Earth's climate has always changed, and today's shifts is just part of a natural cycle. It's true that over millions of years, Earth's climate has undergone significant changes due to factors like volcanic activity, solar radiation variations, and even Earth's orbit. But the rapid warming we're experiencing today is different, both in speed and scale. In the past, major climate change occurred over thousands to even millions of years. By contrast, the temperature increases we're seeing now has unfolded in just a century, largely driven by human activities. The rapid shift doesn't give ecosystems, wildlife, or human societies time to adapt. The data is clear. Today's warming is happening far faster than natural fluctuations. The overwhelming consensus among climate scientists is that human activity is the primary driver of recent rapid warming. While Earth's climate has been subject to natural variations, the extreme pace of change we're seeing now is unprecedented, and so are the consequences. So, where does this all leave us? On one hand, we have the overwhelming evidence for climate change, a body of research built on decades of data, showing that human activities are reshaping our world faster than nature ever intended. The impacts are clear: rising temperatures, more intense storms, and unpredictable weather patterns that challenge the stability of our very planet. On the other hand, there are theories and questions that linger. Throughout history, weather manipulation has been tested, speculated on, and in some cases, even used as a tool. The idea that we could influence the weather, or even that someone might already be doing so, sparks our imagination and our skepticism, especially in a world where trust in authority is at an all-time low. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between. Maybe we are seeing the effects of rapid climate change amplified by natural fluctuations and possibly small-scale human experiments. Or maybe, as the science tells us, this is simply the planet's reaction to an unprecedented level of human impact. Ultimately, the question isn't just about choosing one explanation over the other. It's about staying curious, asking questions, and being open to the unknowns that lie ahead. Because in a world as complex and dynamic as ours, understanding the forces at play, whether natural, human-made, or something in between, is more important than ever. Whatever the answers are, one thing is for certain. The world we live in is changing, and it's up to us to pay attention, adapt, and take responsibility for the impact we have on our planet. So there you go folks, that is today's video, this week's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to get involved in the planning process of my videos and get involved with the community that is growing daily around Code Unknown, we have a specific Facebook page that is wonderfully interactive. There's polls, quizzes, fun stuff, all sorts to keep you occupied every single day. The link is in the description below so you can easily click, follow and get involved. So with that being said, thank you for watching, thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed this, please leave a like. If you want to see more of my crazy content, please do hit the subscribe button and don't forget to press the notification bell so you don't miss out on future content. Always remember, the power to shape our world lies as much in our choices as in the elements. Stay curious, stay aware, and never stop asking, who holds the reins of the wind?